It is imperative that your listing description is compelling and concise because you have about 2 seconds to catch the attention of buyers and real estate agents alike. In today's video, we're taking a deep dive into how to write a listing description that sells. If this is your first time to the channel, my name is Amanda. I'm happy you're here. Please consider hitting that subscribe button and tapping that bell for notifications so that you'll be the first to know when I upload a new video. To start out, every single listing description needs structure. And the structure that I follow is intro, body, and call to action. Think of the intro as the headline for your listing description. This really needs to make someone want to read more, make them want to get into more details. So it has to be compelling and something that makes them go, oh, I haven't read that before. This is definitely not the place to go cozy 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It makes me cringe when I see that. That is not what you should be opening your listing description with. Come up with something about the property that's going to make people want to read more. Next up is the body. And the body is where you're going to go through each room of the house as though you're walking through the home, sharing all of the different features that this property has. And that could be from kitchen to bedroom to basement, all over the home. You want to go room by room and share exactly what this home has to offer. Then you're going to close it out with whatever the call to action is. So come see this home today. I don't love this house won't last long because then you see them on the MLS and they've been on for 50 some days and that's kind of embarrassing. So come up with a call to action that's specific to the property. Homes are moving quickly in this neighborhood. Come see this house today. You need to have that call to action because people need direction. So it could be schedule your tour today. This home is waiting for you. Come see it today. Anything that will get them to take that next step and actually schedule an appointment. Before you start writing your listing description, there's a couple steps you need to take in order to make that description the best it can possibly be. The first one is when you go see the home and you're walking through with the sellers, be taking notes. Ask them questions. I will link up here what to ask on a listing appointment. You want to be taking notes from those questions so that you have all of the selling points for this home from your notes. Step 2 is make a list of pros and cons. Before you ever think about writing a listing description, you need to have a list of pros and cons. And that way, as you start writing your description, you can just check everything off the list that you've included all of the pros, and then save the cons for towards the end of the section where the body is. So you'll have the description that's walking them through the house in each room. Then at the end of that, you want to include the cons, and then you'll include the neighborhood information after you include the cons. Writing a listing description is not about hiding anything. It's about being honest and giving people an actual story to walk through the home with you so that they get a feel of what it's like to actually be inside the home. The cons portion of your write-up should be no more than 2 sentences. So as an example, if I have a house that has, say, an older HVAC system or an older water heater, I will save that to the end of the listing description before the neighborhood information, and then I'll say HVAC, 2005 or whatever year it is. It's being upfront about what the age is, but it's not spending much time or taking up much real estate in your description section. It's just about including the accurate information. Don't go overboard though, just a couple sentences when it comes to the cons, because after all, we want to paint a picture of what it's like to live here and that it's a great place to live. As you start writing your listing description, picture a buyer avatar in your mind of who might be purchasing this home and write to them. Don't try to write to the masses. You always want to write to one person. That said, be very mindful that we always want to follow fair housing guidelines, so steer clear of anything that could be considered discrimination. Some tips for writing a listing description: do not include basic information that's already in the listing. So 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 0.35 acre lot. All of that information is elsewhere in the listing. This is not where you want to just regurgitate basic information. You want it to tell a story, you want to be descriptive, and you want them to feel like they're walking through the home with you. Your listing description should be about 250 words. If it's longer, that's fine, but I wouldn't go too much longer because, again, people, myself included, have a very short attention span. You obviously want to include aspects of the home that are appealing to potential buyers. So you're going to want to go through each room and determine what makes that particular component of the house stand out. In addition to that, you also want to determine what differentiates this property from the competition. So what I'll do before I start writing the description, when I do my list of pros and cons, I will also look at other homes that are active, pending, and closed recently in the neighborhood to see how the property that I'm listing stands out. There's always something that makes the property unique from the competition. You just have to do a deep dive to determine what that is. And once you finish writing about the property, be sure to include neighborhood information. Is it close to shopping and dining? Is it close to public transportation? Is there a commuter lot nearby? Maybe it's near a military base. Include that helpful neighborhood information. Not everyone knows neighborhoods like we do as agents. A lot of us can see a name of a neighborhood. We know exactly where it is and what's all around it, but that's not the case for buyers. So be sure to also include the selling points of the neighborhood and where it's located. Don't forget the professional photos. Photos are the very first place that agents and potential buyers are going to go, and you get one shot to capture their attention. So if the photos are garbage, they're not even going to pay attention to your listing description. That's secondary. And I think it's really important to mention that. Photos are so important. They are the first place that everyone looks, especially when they're browsing online for homes. And we all know that's where buyers start their search. You have got to have top-notch photos. I would never even dream of taking my own pictures. I'm not a photographer. So unless you are, I do not think you should be taking your own listing photos for a couple $100, depending on the size of the home and what you get into. But professional photos, just surface level in our area for a home that's under 3,000 square feet are around $200, money well spent. If the photos aren't good, they won't make it to the listing description. Couple FAQs about writing listing descriptions. First one, make sure that you include the most important information in the first 50 to 70 words. The reason for that is a lot of people will never make it past there. Their attention span is short. They read a little bit and then they move on. So you've got to get the good stuff and the important stuff in those first 50 to 70 words. Keep it simple. These listing descriptions do not need to be overcomplicated, but they are a very important piece of your listings and they absolutely can help a listing sell. You want to be concise, you want to be compelling, but you also don't want an 800-word listing description. It wasn't that long ago in our MLS that they were capped at 400 words, and there are definitely times where I needed a little bit more space, but now they've got a ton of options in terms of how many characters you can have. I think it's like 2,500 or 3,000. That is way too long. 400, 450 words total is plenty for your listing description. Try to steer clear of the buzzwords. You know, those overused words like cozy. Everyone knows cozy means small, or quaint. That can mean small too. Or handyman special. We know that means it needs a lot of work. Steer clear of those. People have become numb to them and they do not help sell a property. If the property needs fixing up, note what needs to be done and note why it's priced the way that it's priced. Come up with something other than handyman special, or if a bedroom is small, don't use cozy. If you got some value from today's video, please consider dropping me a comment below or giving me a like. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next week, please take care.